Hello, Daniel and friends. This is a quick tutorial on how to segment the liver as well as a liver lesion on Terra Recon. I've anonymized the patient that you gave me with a medical record number of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So this will you'll enter the MRN if you were to open a real patient, or you could open it by patient name. If you knew the date, you could filter it that way as well, including modality here. So I'm gonna update the study list. I already loaded it, so it's up here. The actual studies will be down here. I just decided to go with the Venus Face series. So we can highlight that and then left click load. And then lobular liver will be the workflow of choice for our purposes. And I believe this is set up right now to automatically try to segment the liver. If the acquisition is excellent, then the segmentation, the auto segmentation should be great as well. It all depends on the quality of the acquisition. Just a quick rundown of the navigation tools, like the mouse buttons, for example. It's defaulted, the left click is defaulted to scroll on the multiplanar reformats here. And then it will rotate the 3D volume here on the main screen. Right click will pan on every window. And then if you hold down the left and right mouse buttons, that's window and leveling. All right, so we can do that for every window. I mean, the multiplanar reformats just automatically sync. Right now, this is what the liver auto segmentation looks like in the main screen. But if you actually window and level it, it's actually almost the entire liver that's been segmented. It's just automatically shown that way on opening, but that's actually a pretty good chunk of the liver. So those are the navigation tools. If you want to go to a certain spot, for example, on the liver 3D, and have that reflected on each of the multiplanar reformats, you can hold down Alt and left click. For example, that point will correspond to these areas on the multiplanar. You can also do that same thing, the Alt left click on any of the multiplanar reformats to kind of triangulate that same area of the anatomy. So Alt left click to jump to an area on all planes, either from the multiplanar or from the 3D. All right, so if you click this left green button here, it's the mask overlay. It will highlight in green what's currently segmented. So if we click that, left click that, it's actually a pretty decent automatic segmentation of the liver. There's probably like a few areas like here that are missing. So if you wanted to, I forgot to mention scroll wheel, hold it down and drag it to zoom. And then right click again is to pan. For example, if you wanted to include that, there are a couple of options. One is the region growing tool. You left click that to activate. And here you can adjust the tightness and looseness. The looser it is, the more likely it is to bleed from the anatomy of interest. The tighter, the less likely it is to happen, but it will grow smaller. So I usually pick full resolution by default, and then 2 out of 5 for my tightness, and set that region growing tool to auto right now. And then you hold down Control, Shift, and then left click, kind of hold it down as long as you want to keep growing. Here's a small area. So what's highlighted in blue is what I've just added. Well, not added it until you click include, it won't be added. It's just highlighted right now. So if you're happy with what you wanted to include in blue, you can keep going. But right now I'm going to stop there. I don't see any of the spots that I missed. So I'll hit include, left click there, and then it's added to the 3D volume. And then you can kind of scroll up and down, see where we're missing parts of the liver to do the same thing right here. For example, the bottom, again, Control Shift, left click. If you want it to be a small growth, just hit the left click quickly. As long as you're holding it down, it will just keep growing. So include, make sure we're not bleeding out significantly. That's one option. I'm going to undo that last part just to show that the other option. It's probably more time consuming, but there's a free region of interest tool that we can also use to add to the segmentation. You left click that to activate. You shift, a hold down shift, and then you draw the outline of the anatomy per slice that you want to include. I'll just probably scroll down. There's more swath of anatomy down here. And when you're happy with what you've highlighted, maybe include this part as well. Just stop here for the sake of time. But if you're happy with what you've highlighted, you can do the same thing and left click include, and it should include whatever you highlighted in the segmentation. You notice here we actually bled out, so you can spot edit that by using the free region of interest tool per slice again. Exclude that area. Now it's gone. You can do that per slice by slice if you really want to make it tight. As far as the segmentation, you notice here, for example, we bled out into the heart. Edit that. Shift again, left click, exclude. Or you can use the region of interest tool, freehand method. Here is like a circle, a red circle that will represent what I want to highlight, like a marker essentially. You can shift and scroll wheel in whichever direction to increase or decrease the region of interest you want to apply. Let's say that's what I settled for. You can hold down the shift and then hold down left click to highlight the areas you want to exclude. So that's what we bled out. You can also do the freehand option on the region of interest tool to include areas that you missed. So it's kind of nifty if you want the freedom. Yeah, so that's the free region of interest kind of freehand option right there, include. And you can do the same, to exclude as well, highlight whatever has bled out, like here, for example, exclude, and some swath of heart here, highlighting, exclude. So two options. Plus, if you I kind of cut out some of the liver here, so I'm gonna go back to region growing auto. And by the way, once you're Control Shift left clicking here, you can use the scroll wheel to expand the circle of your highlighting down to make it smaller and then bigger the opposite direction. Include that. Include. All right, so forth and so on. And you can, it doesn't have to be one contiguous growth, by the way. You can, let go of the left click and spot, kind of highlight areas and then include. And if you notice, just theoretically, if the segmentation is diffusely kind of inside the liver, meaning there's parenchyma that's outside of the highlighted or segmented portions, there's an option as well down here for erosion and dilation. So it will just diffusely expand the whole segmentation outward if you dilate, and then minus will be inward. You see how we're now losing some parenchymal segmentation because I went inside by eroding. So I'll just dilate that, just if it's a diffuse thing, like in terms of segmentation. All right, so you can, here I missed some, cut out some liver there. We can use auto and highlight those areas, shift left, Control Shift left click, and then include. You can use the free region of interest as well if there's something really obvious. Let's see what, I'm gonna alt left click here. That's, I think, a lot of heart over here. Let's pretend this is all heart. You can shift left click and highlight the area you want to erase. By default, it's going to erase whatever you highlight, like throughout that area. So you can use that. I call it the scissors tool, the free region of interest. Let's see where this is. This like heart as well. So you can kind of cut away from the 3D volume, and it will be reflected on each of the multiplanar reformats. Just make sure you scroll up and down, make that you, in this case, I took out some liver. So just make sure to confirm on the multiplanar reformats that it's okay. You didn't lose some significant anatomy when you're cutting out from the 3D volume itself. I'm just going to include that. So that's actually part of liver itself or over there. Still kind of bled out a little bit there. So just going to, for the sake of time, use the 3D volume to cut out. And then you can do the same here on any of the multiplanary reformats, free region of interest, scissors tool, kind of highlight the top here and hit exclude. Again, depending on how precise you want to be, you could keep going. All right, for the sake of time, I'm just going to stop right here. So that's, again, a pretty good initial auto segmentation. This workflow, the lobular liver, again, is defaulted to automatically try to segment the liver. Otherwise, you will go to this auto segmentation tool, Auto S, and then just click liver and it will try it again. Mask overlay to highlight what was segmented. We're going to pretend right now that it's a perfect segmentation. If you want to export or save the liver volume now as an STL file, you go to 3D setting up here. Right now we just have one volume. So right click, export as mesh. I usually apply like 30% smoothness. It's still going to be rough when you actually export the STL, but I just leave the decimate to 100 and then just pick the destination, your file name, liver, and then STL binary right here. And then you can hit save to whichever folder or USB drive, etc. You want to save the mesh to, in this case, STL format. Now I understand there's also a lesion in this patient, so I'm going to create another volume. I'm just copying it right now on the 3D under the 3D setting tab, and then work on that. So I'm satisfied with the liver volume, which actually includes the tumor as well. I'm going to deactivate the mask overlay just to see better the parenchyma. And in this case, I think because of how ill-defined the lesions can be, I'm just doing leveling with the left and right mouse buttons, holding them down simultaneously. And pardon my if I miss any of the tumor. We're just doing this for tutorial purposes anyway. So free region of interest is the tool you want to use. You hold down shift, and then left click and drag along the margins of the tumor on each slice, like so. I'm gonna try to be super precise here, just for illustrative purposes anyway. So on each slice, I'm just scrolling down with the mouse wheel. Oh, I forgot to mention that if you don't hold down the mouse wheel, if you hold it down, it's going to zoom. Otherwise, you can just scroll with it on the multiplanar reformats. So I think that's the last of the tumor that I see. You're happy with the outlines of the tumor, maybe a little bit here, possibly. You just hit select. So now that's the tumor that's been segmented. And then again, you can left click mask overlay to confirm that what's in green is actually all of the tumor. We're not bleeding out significantly and we're not missing any of the tumor. You can right click here on the 3D volume to measure the volume of the tumor. Measurement and then volume, you will just spit it out. Just say yes, okay, that's the volume of the tumor. We can actually do the same for the liver. Again, same measurement and then volume right there. Okay, so that's the liver volume. If you want to exclude the tumor from the liver volume because it was included, I think you can see in green, everything is there, including the tumor. You can subtract B from A. So B was the tumor, create a new mask. So A minus B is what we want. A is the liver, B is the tumor. So now this volume now excludes, you can see here on the mask overlay that we've excluded the tumor from the new volume here. So you can measure the new volume if that's of interest without the tumor. And some fun things you can do, make them different colors to highlight the anatomy, change color. I'm just gonna pick green. And then when you check both volumes, well, I guess in this case, it's not really very helpful because the tumor is way inside. One thing to show the tumor is to to right click here and change opacity of the liver. I suppose we'll bring out the tumor at some point. There it is. And you can do the opposite to the tumor itself, change opacity and then make it really dense, like opaque. And there's the tumor inside the liver. I'm scrolling around. And again, if you wanted to export the tumor by itself, just highlight it, have it checked, and then export as mesh, same thing as before. Export as STL binary format, and your file name is save wherever you want to save it. All right, I think that covers the basis for segmentation of the liver. Again, if the acquisition is great, the auto segmentation is pretty excellent. And you can do touch-ups with the region growing tool or the free region of interest tool on areas that were excluded or that bled out, and then free region of interest to highlight the tumor. All right, and I think that's it.